All right, thanks everyone for joining us for our eProject Express webinar today. Today we are going to be talking about the value of data and energy savings performance contracting. Let's do a couple of introductions about who we'll be talking with today. We have Mason Trimble from the Virginia Department of Energy. He will be in conversation with Dale Haas, who is our energy savings performance contracting consultant. I am Dana Robson from Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, and I'm joined by my colleague, Catherine Chelminsky, also of Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. I'm going to have Catherine give us a quick overview of the US DOE ESPC campaign.
Thanks, Dana. Many of you may be tuning in today because you are already participating in or have heard about DOE's ESPC campaign. For those that have not, I'd like to briefly introduce this opportunity to those interested in learning more about DOE resources to support performance contracting work. The ESPC campaign is a national initiative to support states, local governments, and other public sector institutions with using energy savings performance contracts to modernize facilities, improve efficiency and resiliency, reduce utility expenses, and achieve lead by example and other organizational goals. DOE works with the ESPC campaign partners to implement successful ESPC projects and programs to share tools, practical guides, and best practice approaches. In addition to webinars such as this one, the ESPC campaign offers trainings with subject matter experts, peer exchange convenings, and direct technical assistance. The ESPC campaign also helps partners leverage powerful tools like eProject Express, which you'll hear more about today, to demonstrate the impact of their ESPC projects and programs to their leadership, communities, and other stakeholders. Organizations interested in learning more about ESPC, those actively implementing projects, and even those with completed projects who are interested in sharing their knowledge with others to amplify their achievements are all welcome to join. To join or for more information, please visit the ESPC campaign website or contact DOE at the email address listed on the slide. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Catherine. Now I'm going to hand it over to Dale, and he's going to give us a quick one-slide introduction to eProject Express.
Well, and quick it is. Welcome to everyone. You know, when we put this slide together and when you look at it today, it's interesting to me that all of the pillars of energy savings performance contracting are really addressed in these circles. You know, for years, people said, well, we're going to use performance contracting because, well, we need to get work done. We don't have any money. So using the energy savings, we could get things done, really solving the concept of deferred maintenance and facility improvement. By the way, whoever came up with the concept that you should defer maintenance in the first place. As well, you know, reduced facility energy and operating costs, using grants, being a good financial steward, simply improving the working and learning environment, all these things, environmental stewardship, of course. ESPC really becomes the nexus where all those things come together. Now, if you're going to use ESPC, well, it'd be nice to know how to track results. So in a simple, straightforward way, the Department of Energy funded this concept to create eProject Express, a tool designed specifically for public users to make this a streamlined, simple entry mechanism to record the information and the data that can be learned and gleaned from these projects over the course of time.
Now I'm going to turn it back over to Dale, and we're going to have a discussion with Mason Trimble.
Yeah, and so, you know, the best part of our time together is hearing from someone like Mason, who's a real practitioner, a real life, living, breathing, I need data. Right, Mason?
Yeah, certainly.
Well, for our audience, do us the courtesy of a little bit of an introduction for you and what your role is there with the Commonwealth.
Yeah, certainly. My name is Mason Trimble. I operate the Virginia Energy Management Program, and obviously an enormous component of that program here in the Commonwealth is energy savings performance contracting. And we have certainly one of the best ESPC programs on a state level in the country, at about $1.3 billion in cost savings so far.
Yeah, it's been a long-standing, wonderful program. I think the original years that come to mind to me are like 2001, 2002. Is that right, Mason?
Yeah, it went into full effect in 2002. That is completely correct. And we've layered on more to it in the following years. 23 years now is a pretty long time for this program. And we've enshrined a lot of its core mechanics within the Code of Virginia, which has helped maintain it at a high level of performance.
Yeah. So for those from the ESCO community, Virginia is a great model for how to be successful or what a state should look like to be successful. There's enabling legislation and really has always been, in a course of different names in the Virginia Energy Office. Seems to me it was DMME, Department of Mines Minerals. Is that right?
Yeah. Back in the 70s or 80s, this portion of it was established as Department of Mines, Mineral and Energy, and then they rebranded just within the last decade. So it actually hasn't been that long we've been Virginia Department of Energy.
Yeah, so the old man in me recognizes and remembers all those years. But a wonderful model, great support for the program through the years, and resulted in this 1.3 billion. So tell us a little bit about how your role fits in the state. What is it that you do that supports this performance contracting vision?
Yeah, it's a pretty important one when it comes down to it. Ultimately, my role is to ensure that every project under the program, the ESPC program that is facilitated at a high performance level. And our office offers full spectrum support for every project. And we believe that's a core tenet of how we've become so successful at it. We offer full technical, financial, management, legal, procurement reviews for every state body or public body that wants to enter into one of these. So we spend a lot of time doing that with them. And I personally review all of their files and sign out those approval letters. So I have my hand on every single project.
Yeah, that's a wonderful testament to, once again, what makes programs successful. And, for programs to work successfully, having great people in places, but, you didn't create it. I'm old enough to remember that as well. You inherited it, right, Mason?
I did. There was a host of other gentlemen and women that went together to build this program back in 2002, and they helped improve it. For the longest standing was Mr. Charlie Barksdale. He was there in 2002, and he left in 2023, where I fully took it over from him at that point. So, yeah.
Yeah, for those of us that knew Charlie, he was a phantom. You couldn't ever reach him because he was always on the road going from project to project.
Oh, for sure. I barely reached him. I worked concurrently with him for about 6 months. I never saw the man in person. I never got on the phone with him for more than about 10 minutes. So he was very quick to the point, and let's move on.
Yeah. So we've touched on a couple of things, but I really want to go back and ask you to summarize, because you're really good at this, Mason. I appreciate it and applaud it very much. If you had to stand back and look at another state or across the nation and say, what makes this program successful in the Commonwealth of Virginia, what would you attribute it to?
Funny enough, I was at the NASIO Building Summit last week and got to speak to a bunch of other people in the ESPC realm from other states and their programs. And one of the biggest things is that we just have legislation for it set up and in a long-standing way, and we keep building it forward. I noticed some states don't have legislation, and they don't have full-time support for projects, and those two are the biggest components that really make us successful.
Legislation and support. Wow, that makes sense. But your support's come from the top, and it virtually always has, in my memory. There's always been a high-level support by policymakers for the program to be successful once they saw the legislation and that the program began to work. And so, it's pretty easy for somebody that's been around this industry forever to say, well, how do you know the program works? And gosh, for years, we've been talking about different ways to metric that. Even in your introduction, you talked about how much work has been achieved, right?
Yeah, of course. We track a lot of data.
So the one piece of data that almost everybody in every state, and frankly, every ESCO, every state official knows is how much construction work has been done using ESPC, right?
Certainly.
And then often we know that folks like yourselves are called upon by policymaking authorities and asked to report. What do they want to hear from you? What do they want to know about this program really?
They want to see that it actually is successful. And so we send them rather extensive covered reports on a quarterly basis showing everything that's happened in the last quarter, and then also the compiled history of 23 years at this point. And we have a short list of specific metrics like project costs, construction costs, savings, the amount of jobs it created, kilowatts avoided, those kinds of metrics, but also the project's actual components put into it. Like this project did X, lines of plumbing work or stuff like that, where you're actually proving the type of implementations being put in on top of the metrics of success.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. And again, it's almost embarrassing to have lived through iterations over time in the way programs have developed. But if you start with, this is how much construction work's been done, nearly every policymaker I've ever met says, yeah, and so what? They want to know, did it pay for itself? How many square feet is it covered? What the energy amount was saved, right? Measures that were completed during the program. And so over time, you guys have developed this whole big list of things that you track, right?
Yeah, of course. We operate with the separate part of the program, the Data Energy Warehouse. It was established under the obvious guise of, well, we have so much data, we should have a team that specifically tracks it at all times. And if we have a single point to funnel it into with people who are experts in data analysis and being able to translate that data into graphs, charts, systems, spreadsheets and whatnot that are easily maneuverable between the agency and clients and, legislators that reinforce the program, it helps build it up even further.
Yeah, what a fantastic asset to have. Folks that are actually keeping score in the back room, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot of burden off being in the front line.
For sure. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper here. Forgive me for this, but where does that data come from?
Ultimately, it comes from the measurement and verification phase of a project, the contract itself, and a lot of that then comes from those ESCOs that are actually working with the clients to build out that contract, those financial models, and then measuring it through that measurement and verification phase that goes on an annual basis, if not more commonly on like a 3-month basis or 6-month basis.
Yeah, remarkable. So it's real data, it's readily available, and still, for some reason, over the course of these United States, we find places where it's not being kept. And you guys, and I'm going to use this as sort of a play on words, figured out a long time ago how to mine that data.
We're good at mining.
And store it in a way that you could use it, right?
Yeah. And we also use the eProject platform. We're an adopter of that. Obviously, we were speaking about it earlier. And so we utilize that. And I think it's a good system that can generate reports for the client to see. And it gives the client a transparent way to access their data at any time, which is great. It takes a lot of burden off sending them reports from our office on a routine basis.
Well, yeah, excellent point. So there are two places where end users garner reports, right? They reach out to the state energy office and say, help, I have to deliver a report and I don't know where this data's at. And the other one, I remember living through this myself as well, sort of tragically, when the ESCO gets that last minute report that says, or that last minute phone call that says, tomorrow I need to give a presentation to the board or the regents or whoever, and it's supposed to really encapsulate the last 3 years of the success of this project. Now, having lived in the ESCO world as well in the public sector over the course of my working career, I can tell you that that's not a fun call. Then you're trying to find old projects that you haven't thought about in a while. Where's the data? How do you get it summarized and passed off? Using the eProject Express and Builder platforms, the end user has access to that data and can complete their own reports. Hearing you say that that's powerful is a wonderful thing, because it really takes that responsibility away from you and that last minute emergency phone call to the ESCO community, right?
Yeah, we certainly don't want to hear last minute emergency calls, because in my opinion, then somebody has dropped the ball somewhere and didn't make that just available easily to the client. And that's where that eProject comes in, where I don't have to have our employees constantly sending out every 3 months a report to them. They can go, wow, I need to do that report. It's due on Monday. I'll just log on to the website.
Log on, password, it's a secure place. They can pull down the data and actually save their own report format and have it repeated, which is a kind of a wonderful nuance in and of itself. So, Mason, I want to really just help us all then focus a little bit more on your data. Because for me, being the, kind of wonk that I am, I go walking through the VEMP website and I start finding data that we don't find in other places. I mean, you've recognized the Commonwealth, forgive me, has recognized the need to deliver that information in a very straightforward way, right?
Certainly, yeah.
I mean,
As straightforward as you can get.
Year over year data in a bar chart. You've got pie charts illustrating the segments of the marketplace, whether it's a public sector or a state facility. It seems like there was another division there. Schools and communities.
Oh, in our charts, yeah, we cover every single sector possible in there. The whole, like the mush market, state agencies, public bodies, public schools. Every single one of them can be delineated due to the programs we use to generate a lot of those charts. I don't remember all of them, but I know Power BI is coming to mind right now, the way you can manipulate the data and show. And it's not just the charts and graphs we publish on our website. We're working with hosts of public bodies and state agencies, and they funnel their data to us, and then we can help them analyze it and see just if they need to do an ESPC project.
So you've got this data, you've got this wonderful reporting capability, you've got the data warehouse that's helping you collect and really summarize the information. So who really wants that stuff?
Really, everybody. Everybody wants that data. The decision makers want to see it. They want proof that everything's running along. Every 4 years in the Commonwealth, there's a new governor, because you can't run consecutive terms here. So every 4 years, we have to show all of this data to the new government and his whole cabinet and tell them what the program is, because a lot of people don't know 100%. It sounds like a great idea. Luckily, we have all this data stored up. We can show them. We can brief them whenever they need to see it. State agencies want to see this data. They want to know how they can improve their facilities to be more energy efficient. Public bodies love to see this data. It's proof of concept for them. Like a city has a lot of buildings that they want to make energy efficient, but they can be quite curious to the extent at which it can actually perform for them.
Yeah, so well said. And I want to kind of slow us down, draw us back, digress just a moment. So you're telling me that for some reason, the number one politician in the Commonwealth and the cabinet want to know that this works? And you have to be able to show them that it works for it to continue?
Well, considering it's enshrined in legislation, not necessarily for it to continue, but for them to understand it, the program, and obviously they're going to be curious, and they come in and you tell them this has done all this work, and they go, I've never heard of this. And it's like, okay, cool. well, here's an entire brief and all the data, and we can go as deep as you want to understand it. And of course, you only get like 10 minutes with them. So you have to consolidate 23 years of data at this point, as we do have a election coming up soon. So we'll be going through that exact process.
Yeah, wow. And there's so many states really across the nation and a few other commonwealths that have tragically lost track of that data simply because there wasn't an easy, simple, straightforward, secure way to gather the data and keep it in a format, in a location where it could be accessed by both sides of the user field, if you will. The end user, the ESCO, all have, and of course the State Energy Office, Commonwealth's Energy Office, has access to it in a summary format as well. Hence the creation of the concept of eProject Express. And while we consider moving to a demonstration of that system, just wondered if there's anything else that you wanted to share about data and its value for you and the Commonwealth and how you think about that from your chair.
Yeah, sure. I mean, data is at the center of every one of our decisions. Just to step into actually doing a project, we've reorientated how we do projects. Phase one is the feasibility stage. It sounds super familiar and normal, right? Well, we hold all of our clients, the public bodies and state agencies, in that feasibility phase and go, hey, go get as much data as you can. We give them a list of every source of data they could possibly have on their building, floor plans, energy data, water data, wiring diagrams, if they have a substation nearby, XYZ thing, right? And then we sit down there with them and pore over it to find what is the best type of scope they could go for. So it's just the first step, and it's all data right there.
Yeah, very powerful concept. Having the data, the ability to make good decisions. And while I certainly don't want to pretend to argue with your point that it's codified in legislation and so it should continue, we've also seen legislators change their mind.
Oh, yeah.
They hear across the nation some bad story about something that happened that was, because there wasn't oversight and there weren't pragmatic guidelines for a program. And so they hear that, and from a fear set and not having the data to support success, they make the knee-jerk reaction of thinking, hey, we shouldn't be doing this any longer. So having the data at easy disposal, ready disposal to display the success of a program that's been so remarkably good for the Commonwealth is an amazing thing. And we applaud your continued efforts in the Commonwealth.
Well, thank you.
Dana is going to share us with a little bit now, a demonstration with a slideshow for eProject Express. Dana, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dale. We're going to do a quick overview of eProject Express. It is, as Dale stated, it's designed specifically for state and local governments and educational institutions. It is the same database as eProject Builder, but whereas eProject Builder utilizes a multi-tab template with many, many fields, eProject Express is a simple one-page template with no required fields. It is a free resource that's maintained by Berkeley Lab with funding from the U.S. Department of Energy. Again, it's secure, user-friendly, it provides project information tracking and reporting. It enables program administrators and project owners to track project investments, including estimated, guaranteed, achieved savings. You can track job impacts, GHG impacts, and implemented measures. It standardizes the way that ESCOs provide project and M&B summary data so that you'll be able to extract all of the same data across your portfolio of projects. And it saves time and effort by having all of the project data and information in one place. In addition to all the data that's entered via the templates, there's also a file documentation system that will allow you to save all of your relevant project files. So what are the benefits of ePX to project owners? Again, it saves time. You don't have to ask your ESCO for all of the information or for a particular document. Everything is right there and easily accessible by everyone on the project team that has access to that project. It provides standard and custom reporting for all of your project achievements. It makes it easy to illustrate project successes and impacts, and again, retains critical document files that the ESCOs can provide. Project owners can also add documents to that project documentation section, which we will describe a little bit later. And again, alleviates staff workload for the project owners. ESCOs are responsible for uploading data and documents for review and approval by the project owners. So what are the benefits of eProject Express to ESCOs? Again, streamlined. It's one-page template for both project data and M&V data. There are no required fields on either template. For upload, you can work with your project owner and your ESCO to agree on which fields you want to track. It saves time by retrieving documents, having everything available at one click. And it gives owners quick access to information without having to wait to ask the ESCOs to send information over. You can just get it directly from the system. And we've had some good feedback from ESCOs that they enjoy using eProject Express because of its streamlined nature. So here is that digital filing cabinet. This is the project document section, which is available from your project dashboard. You can upload any file types here. You can upload Word, JPEGs, PDFs, PowerPoints, zip files. And it again, both the ESCO and the project owner are able to add documents to this folder. If you click on the little file checklist button that we have at the top, it shows an example of the types of files that you might want to save here. And these are a couple of snapshots of some of the reporting that we have available through eProject Express. On the left is the annual M&V summary. This shows your 1-year results for a particular M&V year. And on the right is the cumulative results snapshot, which shows your results year over year, including estimated cost savings, guaranteed cost savings, and verified cost savings. In addition to those reports, we also have a custom analysis and reporting feature, which allows you to filter only for ePX fields. You can add whichever fields you want to your reporting, and you can easily export the results to an Excel file so you can do additional analysis outside of the system. We have a lot of ESPC resources for you. As Catherine talked about at the beginning, we have some information on how to join the ESPC campaign. They have a YouTube channel where you can watch trainings and webinars, a podcast series. There's also an ESPC toolkit. And there's also a no-cost on-demand certificate series that is hosted by the Performance Contracting National Resource Center. We also offer our own training and information for eProject Express. This includes written training guides and on-demand videos. These are available for download at our help and documentation page. We have a new value proposition slide deck, which will allow state energy offices and other agencies to utilize those slides for presentations that they may want to give to their agencies in order to explain the benefits of using eProject Express. We have some new information available specifically for ESPC campaign partners, including color-coded templates that will allow you to identify the specific fields that the DOE ESPC campaign is prioritizing for data collection. And we have some new training materials, including quick start guides for project data and M&V data. We also have legacy guide project data and M&V data guides. These are for entering data for projects that are currently in the performance period. And we will also be hosting 2 upcoming webinars that will review how to enter that legacy project data and M&V data. We also have a series of mini training videos that will help you get started with ePX. If there are any questions, we can take questions in the chat, or we do have time for questions if anyone has a question that they want to ask of Dale or Mason.
So Dana, while folks are considering their questions, a couple of things come to mind that maybe we slipped past here or I didn't hear in a way I thought would be helpful. So there is an eProject Builder and there's an eProject Express. So eProject Builder was created, it was a federal tool, and it really very successfully tracks the information and data from individual measures, which is a powerful tool. As we heard from the ESCO community and state and local users of eProject Builder, they looked at that and they said, well, that's great. We get it. We understand why people would keep that level of data, but that's not what we want. What we want is something that's just a simple, streamlined overview. Now, eProject Express was created for that. It's a single Excel page that allows you to enter the data that at the beginning of a project is about where the project is headed, what your goals are, some definitions about the project size and location. And then separately, the system allows you to track the actual results. And so you see that comparison snapshot. It gives the system all that power to do the reporting. Now, I'm going to flip a switch here and kind of look at this from the perspective of the ESCO community. Having grown up in that industry myself, I remember the variety of owners and the kinds of reports and data that they would want. We'd get through a $20 million project, and then somebody would say, oh, I need to give this wrap up to the school board about how the project went. So what was the starting energy consumption, the post energy consumption, the number of students that were there then, the number of students, and you're going, whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't know I was going to have to dig this up at the end of the project and provide it. One of the real keys to eProject Express is when the owner and the ESCO agree that this is the data that'll be tracked, you know what the expectations are. You can provide the information when it's readily available. It could be part of it from the IGA. And then when the project goes to contract, there'd be additional information that could be provided. And along the pathway of construction, information could be assembled along with all the files that Dana made reference to. I can't tell you how many times we get to the end of a project and somebody would say, I don't think that's what I read in the original investment grade audit. Can you share that with me? Well, yeah, it's about 3 inches of paper, or here's the electronic file. Knowing that all that stuff can be contained in eProject Express and is readily available for you, all the pictures, all the construction schedules, every bit of it's right there at a click. eProject Express is a very, very powerful tool, simple, streamlined, and secure.
Thank you for that clarification, Dale. I appreciate that. I also wanted to reiterate that this is a secure system and that none of the data can be viewed by anyone outside of your organization that is granted access to those projects.
That's a great point. I've actually talked to people. Folks have called me and said, well, we'd use it, but I don't want anybody to see my this, or how we calculate that, or this special new measure that we use. Okay, it's all between you and the owner, secured by email, passwords, and actually in a second stage of verification. So it really is powerful and secure there for you to use.
Thanks, Dale. I don't see any other questions in the chat. If anyone has any questions for us that come up afterward, you can email us at epbsupport@lbl.gov. We also have a phone number where you can leave a voicemail. And just as a reminder, this video was recorded and we will be sending out the slides shortly to all of the registered participants, and we will post the recording to our help and documentation page within about 2 weeks or so of the webinar. Thanks, everyone. Oh, anything else you want to add, Dale?
I just wanted to thank Mason for the great example that the Commonwealth of Virginia continues to illustrate as a leader for the nation in using ESPC and eProject Express.
Well, thank you, Dale. And it was great to be here and talk about everything we did. It's always fun to delve deeper into the ESPC realm for educational purposes. Get that information out there.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Mason.
Thank you both.
Bye now.
Bye.